2023 has come and gone really fast, and it feels like it barely even started. There were a lot of ups and downs, but all in all, it was a fun year, especially for video games. The past 2 to 3 years I didn't play many new releases because it didn't feel like there was all that much going on, but 2023 really revived my interest in modern gaming, so I thought it would only be fitting to chat about some of the best games I had the opportunity to play in 2023. Let's check it out. The first game on my list was a sequel that took over 10 years to release, and that game is Dead Island 2. This game was stuck in development hell for so long, and it's very surprising it even released. The studio that was working on Dead Island 2 were approached by Techland about a parkour zombie game, but the developers of Dead Island rejected the idea and went another direction. So Techland went on to independently produce Dying Light, which I'm sure many of you now know to be one of the most successful zombie games ever made. But this whole scenario left me personally with very little hope for Dead Island 2's future. So when it finally released, I was very skeptical and I decided to wait. Reviews on it were not great, but I still decided to finally bite the bullet and buy the game, and honestly, I'm really glad I did. Dead Island 2 is a lot of fun, especially with friends. The storyline is really bad, but that's not why I'm playing Dead Island. What matters is the gore and combat, and I'd say Dead Island 2 knocks it out of the park with their new flesh system, which makes it so you can hack and break whatever you want off of zombies. The game's got a good amount of customization, lots of exploration, and enough variety to keep me personally coming back. So while reviewers claimed it wasn't innovative and had a terrible storyline, it's Dead Island. To me, it's already a proven formula, and I really enjoyed the original game and the new game. Yes, the dialogue and story was probably written by an AI, but I'm not playing Dead Island 2 for a deep story anyways, so this doesn't matter to me at all. The game's a bloody zombie killer with mediocre humor and great combat. If that sounds appealing to you at all, then you'll probably like this game. Up next, we have a remaster that I truthfully never expected, and that is Super Mario RPG. This game was one I always wanted to try, but I never did on the original Super Nintendo. So when Nintendo announced they'd be remastering the game, I was really excited. And now that it's released, I can easily say that Super Mario RPG is hands down one of my favorite games for 2023. The game itself looks visually stunning, and I like how vibrant everything is. The battles never overstay their welcome, and the game gives you a nice sense of progression all the way through. I never found myself getting bored with combat because the game lets you switch between characters freely while in battle, which is something a lot of RPGs penalize you for doing. I'm not a die-hard RPG fanatic, and that's probably why I like this game so much, because it's fun for anybody. Nintendo did a great job of bringing an old game and revitalizing it for newer generations to come, and that's no easy task. So for that very reason, Mario RPG is definitely a game everyone should check out. Moving along, my next game for 2023 is Sonic Superstars. I truly believe this game got swept under the rug because, well, it's Sonic, and when you compare it to other AAA releases, it's pretty easy to forget about games like these. But I'm glad I didn't, because this game is a lot of fun. Even if you've never played a Sonic game before, this is definitely one you should check out. The graphics and art design are some of the best I've ever seen in a modern Sonic game. It really feels like Sega is starting to understand why people love Sonic, and they're staying true to that classic formula. But not everything is classic, as there are some new additions such as cooperative play with up to 8 players online or 4 players locally, and the introduction of Chaos Emeralds, which give you some extra attacks that change up the gameplay. So if you like Sonic, then this will definitely be a great game for you. If you don't like Sonic, well then this one I'd recommend you passing, as it's not going to convert you. The next game on my list is Lethal Company. This one might surprise some people because I'm not that big into horror, but I think Lethal Company is something very special because it accomplishes so much with so little. The game's a simple cooperative loot hunting game where you land on various planets and enter different dungeon templates. You then have to retrieve as many items as possible while carrying them to your ship. It all sounds simple, but it's really not, because there's so much variety in terms of randomized dungeons, various monsters, and purchasable items. So while you might be turned away by the low resolution graphics, there is a lot more than meets the eye with this game. I'd highly recommend playing this with 3 other friends, but even playing alone with strangers can be a good time. So if you've got any interest in cooperative horror, this is definitely a fun title to check out. The next game is one that doesn't need much of an introduction, and that's Spider-Man 2. There isn't much I can say about this game that hasn't already been said. It's a great game. But the reason I'm putting it on this list is because I don't like Spider-Man, or many superhero video games for that matter, but this title kinda converted me a little because I really enjoyed the combat and web swinging. I also liked how they intertwined the Miles Morales and Peter Parker storylines to stop things from getting old and boring. So while this game didn't do anything too different from the previous titles, it's still a really fun entry in the series and definitely shows off how good the PS5 graphics can look, along with how cool the haptic feedback is on the new PlayStation 5 controllers. This is an easy game to recommend even if you don't like Spider-Man, because it does have a little bit of something for everyone. And so the final game on my list is a series I wanted to see remastered so bad, and it's Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. This game is a reimagining of the two classic Game Boy Advance titles and brings it all together by adding new graphics, music, game modes, and just quality of life improvements. It's a military strategy game that has all different kinds of terrain, military units, and weather conditions. But by far my favorite part of the Advance Wars series has always been the commanders, and this game does an amazing job with them. Each commander changes how the game is played, and they have their own special attributes along with a super ability that can be activated once the power meter on the top left of the screen is filled. I really like this idea because different commanders create different scenarios that completely change up the gameplay, meaning you will always be thinking multiple steps ahead in order to prevent things like an ambush, snipers, or just a complete terrain change. Advance Wars offers up multiplayer online or local, which is also a nice feature as you get to try out different commanders and strategies against real people. To those that want to try out a military strategy game but don't want to dump 8 hours into a game of Risk, Advance Wars Reboot is a great way to check out an often forgotten series. And that concludes my favorite games of 2023. I know many people are going to be asking why I didn't include games like Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, and those other titles, but it's because I just truthfully haven't gotten around to them. 2023 has been a really busy year for me work-wise, and I've definitely missed a lot of newer releases, but that's mainly because I've been playing catch-up on older titles. Just around a month ago, I finally beat Breath of the Wild, which should go to show you that I'm quite behind on certain games, but I do plan to get through a lot of them in 2024. So anyways, I just want to say thanks for watching this video and also this channel. I really enjoy making YouTube videos, and none of that would be possible without people like you watching. So with all that said, I want to wish you an awesome new year, and I'll see you in 2024. Bye.